Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shrimp Tank. I'm your host today, Ted Jenkins. My co-host, Lee Heisman, cannot make it today. He is trying to sell a business in Las Vegas. Seems like it might be more important than the podcast today. But we're excited to have you back every week here on the Shrimp Tank for almost 10 years now. We've been bringing you some of the brightest and best CEOs and entrepreneurs and business owners around the country. We started this thing out to give you this combination of street smarts and book smarts to help our entrepreneurs figure out either how to start a business, how to scale a business, or maybe one day exit stage left. As always, a thank you to our main sponsor, Exit Stage Left Advisors. These are the guys that actually know how to sell businesses at the time that you may want to sell your business. And I have to tell you, the capital out there is unbelievable right now in the private equity. When they tell you that money is drying up, apparently people don't know where to look because it's not drying up at all. It's out there everywhere. And I'm excited today to have on our guest, Jason Wood. He is a real pioneer and innovator and forward thinker in the marketing and digital marketing space and AI and everything in between. And he's also taken a company public, which we're going to talk about today a little bit as well. And, I will tell you all, first of all, make sure, as always, this is the first time you're watching the podcast, that you get us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. I'm writing a column now once every couple of weeks for Fox News and their op-ed. So if you just Fox News me, you'll see the op-eds that I'm writing in Fox News. Why? Because we got to figure out how to keep our money, quite frankly, as business owners. We need to let the government let us do what we do. I wanted to just start with this because you're doing all this marketing and all over the place. And I want to talk about this for a lot of ways, but you see a lot of regulation coming down in the whole marketing thing with AI, deep fake, and everything that's going on right now.
I'm so reticent to talk about regulation. It's necessary. I want it. It needs it. The problem is when you let bureaucrats do it, it doesn't make any damn sense, and it always favors a winner. And that's always the person with the biggest checkbook in the lobbying table, right?
Isn't that true?
Meta is going to win on that. And you're going to go, oh, great, we have like AI protection. No, man, Meta just bought access to sell everything they've got on you. They just agreed not to turn it on for marketers. So you're going to get Pampers ads if you're 25 and single, but all of your proprietary, like, financial information, that's getting sold to foreign governments as they try to do economic forecasting, because Meta doesn't have a problem with that.
Jason, I love it when people tell me, especially business owners, that it's like, man, they can't get my information. I'm off the grid. I'm like, man, you ain't ever off the grid here, right? The moment you start going on any of these sites, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever it may be, they got you, don't they?
I don't even need your website behavior. You carry a phone, I got you. I mean, it's not about tracking, right? I mean, because that whole play was ugly, like where they could watch devices go from A to B and watch them, that's a different animal than what we're doing. But look, when you go to shut your iPhones off, most of your phones, the default mode says findable while off. And most people don't know to turn that off. But, so we get people to go, hey, listen, you can't identify me when I'm looking for a car because I turned my cell phone off. I'm like, yeah, did you disable the leave on mode on your phone to make it non-discoverable? Because I bet you don't know how to do that. And because you don't, I know that you were at BMW and Mercedes last Friday. Not you personally, but I know this device that I want to serve ads to for Audi was definitely present there.
I wanted to just start with like a center point here, because there are a lot of business owners that are probably watching this today, and still a bunch of them are struggling with client acquisition and whatever business they're in, and they don't know where to start. How do you approach this? Because I feel like marketing is the most important part of a business, right? You don't have new clients, you don't have sales, you don't have a business. And so how do you help approach an owner here? It's 2024. They're feeling a little stuck with their marketing plan. Where do you start with them?
I'll tell you something you don't expect to come out of a marketer's mouth, but it's just intellectual honesty, in full display as far as I'm concerned. you don't start a company with marketing. You start a company with a country club membership to a cheap club and a $25 $20 bill in your pocket to buy a couple drinks. That's how you get your first client. Then you deliver success, get your second client. You build a core that way. It's faster, it's cheaper, and it's not so frustrating, and it's not so techy and wonky and cross-channel and cross-device and all these things that we get small business startups worried about. Look, what we do at Specificity is about scale. Make no mistake about it. If you need to acquire your first 10 clients, capitalizing ad tech spend is not the way to do it. Capitalizing paid spend, in my view, is not the way to do it. Go sit at the local country club and have a cocktail and talk to business owners. Go to the chamber mixer, man. I'm not a big fan of Chamber of Commerce's because they're all pay to play. But man, they'll let you come to the first couple for free. And if you're any good at what you do, you should be able to convince somebody to do it with you, especially in the B2B space. So for me, marketing is a tool that companies should look for to scale, to inform their brand on things like, messaging that's successful, creative that's successful, all of those kinds of like mid to high level things. Marketing as a method of like startup, I think is a tough ask. I just do.
When you look at a business, because obviously business is in all shapes and sizes, but let's say you have a business now that's doing 7 figures or doing 2-3 million of sales. Do you have a guideline or a rule of thumb about how much they should be putting back into the business from a marketing perspective?
I mean, all of that died with the death of traditional marketing being the primary way we were marketing. Like back in the day, your DMA model was the same as your direct mail audience, was the same as your newspaper audience, was the same as your radio audience, and your basic access costs to those markets were similar. So you could say, look, you need to put 7%, but at what profit margin? And at what volume do you need? And at what conversion rate? And at what nowadays in digital, that's where your money should be. I'll say that when you're doing 2-3 million and you get the local branding expert to come on and wants to do a TV commercial for you, it's such an inefficient way to market that so much of that waste really hurts your ability to grow with those initial precious ad dollars. So digital is better because you can point it where it's going to have the most impact. So for me, it's about the product, about the market that you're endeavoring to engage and convert. All of these variables will speak to things like sales cycle and all of these things that matter that are critical at say $1 to $10 million level that help you point it. So it varies. We come in with some companies doing, say $5 million. We'll come in and say, cut your ad spend by 2/3, but focus an entire third on this segment. Now you're popping growth. Now you've got case studies. Now you can scale and go after job titles instead of specific opportunities, for example, in B2B.
And how about the sort of the cornerstone of this decision where owners are trying to bifurcate, how much do I spend on ROI, right? Whether I do paid or I do something like that I know is going to bring in new customers, sponsoring a chamber event, whatever it may be, versus, me spending money on my brand. So people just hear about me and they find me. How do you recommend that? I think it's one of the biggest struggles for business owners because a lot of them get so ROI focused and they really don't have the money to measure brand, right? They don't have the kind of money Coca-Cola does to look at aided and unaided awareness. How should I think about that? If I'm a $5 million business, how should I think about that?
Okay, so let me ask this. Then is your podcast PG-13 or R?
Oh no. We're R on to X-rated. So
let me be straight. Let me be straight with everybody that has a brand in their head or to fruition doing $1 billion. Nobody gives a figgity fuck what you have to say about your brand. People don't give a shit. Until the markets start to fracture, where manufacturers come in and go, as their core value proposition, hey, we're not real high quality, but we're not shitty either, and we're middle priced. Until that becomes the branding standard where we get some honesty in our brand, branding is a Me Too statement. What really weaponizes brand is the exact audience you convert. And what I mean by that is, what is more valuable in any business owner's opinion? $50,000 at a Tampa market of consumers, or converting 100 people that will talk about your brand and just not stop. So if you're selling a vegan product versus selling a more commoditized product, you're going to win in the vegan space, because one thing we know about vegans is they won't shut up about being vegan. And that also
They
means when
really
they love
don't.
a product, they won't shut up about it. So the cross pollination effect, I call it, when you're doing audience identification. So you've got a product that has nothing to do with vegan, but we know that demographic, that psychology that's present so much in that market. If it's also present in this product category and we can identify that, we're going to go after those brand advocates and convert that audience. Data lets you do that. It lets you go after the people that are not, influencer. Don't ever cede your branding over to somebody else and just hope they don't do anything stupid during the period you have a relationship with them, because then you're married to it. But instead, people that are micro influencers, not as a strategy, just because they don't shut up. And they're surrounded by people that listen to them, right? We all have those friends on social. How do you identify those consumer segments within, siloed out intent categories? Can you do that? Just hell yeah, you can. So do you want to put money, $200,000 at an agency to come in and tell you what color your logo ought to be, what snazzy tagline you're going to have, all of this shit? Or do you want to put that money at converting people that'll tell you about the experience they had with you and how dope your product is?
I think it's an important point you're making, because I've sold 3 of my own companies, and I've been involved in and around a lot of people who've sold their companies. And every time you get down to a private equity company or a family office is going to buy your business, brand never matters. What matters is, can you prove that you can grow top line CAGR? Can you prove that you've got a marketing engine to bring in new customers? That's valuable, right? And I think that's the part that what I love hearing what you just said, that people forget about, because everyone falls in love with their own brand. Then they go to sell it and they go, well, wait a minute, there must be some goodwill for my brand. It's like, well, you're not fucking McDonald's. You're not.
Yeah, exactly. You're not fucking Stanley with the pink cup, goddammit.
Although they did, that's a great example, though. I mean, look, but they got a cult following there. It's unbelievable.
Sporadic cult following, right?
Yeah.
Sporadic. I mean, are we still dumping ice buckets on our head, or was that just a thing for a minute, right?
Exactly.
So that's the difference, right? The sustainable conversion modeling versus the Tony Vander or the Gary Vaynerchuk model of, we should all try to go viral, because virality lasts.
Then you say that
momentarily.
That's the other struggle. I wonder what you think about business owners, because a lot of business owners that I talk to always hear, well, I got to be on social. I got to be on social. I got to be on social. And it's like, if you don't know anything about Instagram or TikTok or whatever it may be, does it hurt you not to be on social, or do you have to be on social?
I mean, look, again, it's all about audience, right? So who's buying your product? And that's the key. That is always the key. Who buys your product? When you have a product that's cross-generational, I mean, yeah, you should be on social. Do you necessarily have to be good at social to be successful? No, but getting good at social will aid in being successful. And anytime you're doing something that has data at its core, even shitty data like you get on Meta, anything that has data at its core, you can replicate. You can learn from. And so for that reason, I think, yeah, you should be on social. Everybody's got a grandkid or a kid or a neighbor's kid. If you're very tiny, that can get you on social. You don't need an agency to get on social. What you need an agency like ours for is scaling social, and then talking about things like conversion modeling and things like that. But being there, it's a smart play. But what are you gonna? For me, it's all. What are you gonna say on social? Are you gonna build a brand organically on social? Why? Why would you do that? I mean, if everybody knows you've got the best widget in the market, but nobody buys it, did you win?
Right.
Did you win? Yeah. So if everybody knows you because you're Burger King and you have this annoying tune, did it make you go to Burger King, or did it make you look at your wife when it comes on in the middle of your game and go, fuck, I hate this goddamn song? Because catchy is, it's like, catchy's great if it's a popular song, but not so good if it's an STD, right? So, you gotta measure that stuff, right? And you got to plan for it. I mean, that's the thing. What do you want to do? Do you want to be successful monetarily, or do you just want everybody in your neighborhood to know who you are?
Where do you see this next generation of marketing headed with AI? And I'm asking this because what I find to be hysterical about marketing is that I can remember probably 10 years ago, maybe it was a little bit longer, people said, oh, phone calling is dead. No one takes phone calls anymore. And then you started hearing the last couple of years, like email is dead. Email is dead. Although it's not dead. It's not dead at all. I mean, in fact, it looks like companies using AI are getting smarter with it. So do you work or do you build out? I think you do, like these amplified programs with AI, either in email or in social.
I mean, look, nothing is ineffective wholesale, and nothing is universally effective. That's the truth of marketing,
Right,
So
it is.
everybody builds their tech stack, and they go out and advocate for their tech stack. But the truth is, let's just take the last 60 days. We do everything. We do AI, we do email, we do social, we do DSP, we do programmatic, we do connected TV. We do it all. We do it all, and we do it all as a methodology for us internally to measure. We don't really concern ourselves in our own marketing with ROI from that perspective. We do it other ways. So here's what I would tell you. You started that with a question. Where do you see younger marketers right now? And an answer, they're fucked. They're totally screwed. They have been taught. They have been taught to be really good at manipulating platforms. Okay, great. So you hire a 25-year-old. They'll do some pretty tricky stuff for you on Meta, no doubt. They'll cross it over to TikTok. Great, LinkedIn, whatever. I mean, they can do that. Then you add AI to that, and AI is taking that data from Meta and Google and the DSPs and audience activation platforms and the like, and they're helping you make really fast, but unfortunately really stupid decisions. And so we're training marketers to pull levers that are already built, and we're not training them on fundamentals of marketing. So even when they're looking at analytics, like, I mean, I'll give you a great example, and this is just, I won't use names, but this is just how obvious it is. You take a window company that was a client of ours for a long time here in the Tampa market, and their goal is to hit homeowners, right? Obviously, you're going to sell windows, renters don't buy it. You go to Meta, you set up a homeowner audience, you put up your geo approximation, all this stuff. Pre-iOS was X. Pre or post iOS 14.5 update was X divided by about 6. And what happened? Well, now when you go in and hit that homeowner select, sometimes that audience, 75% of them actually own their home. Sometimes only 60% of them own their home. Sometimes only 45% of them own their home. And then if you're sequencing the campaign, those lookalike audiences, you've got 5 selects, and Facebook will say, here's an audience that matches 4, but it leaves out the one that was the sequitur, which is home ownership. Not to mention value. You sell an $80,000 home renter? Well, we probably can't do that in a trailer park, even if you own your own trailer. You're not going to buy an $80,000. So there's all these variables that come into it. And young marketers, they're not trained on marketing fundamentals at all. They're taught branding from guys that don't even believe it anymore, because they're pulling digital levers and data levers for their clients. But they talk branding because it's popular and something everybody understands. And then they're taught to manipulate platforms. These platforms are delivering awful data, analytics that are unimpactful, because you can't take action on analytics when the audience isn't accurate. I mean, how could you possibly say we're getting great engagement in 19 to 25-year-olds when only a third of your audience or half of your audience is actually 19 to 25? Because what we know is 55-year-olds are far more likely to click on every goddamn ad they get. And therefore, if you have a disproportionate number of that demo, your analytics, your vanity metrics will be dope, but your ROI will suck. So that's where young marketers at, man. They're so not read into marketing fundamentals, and they're so focused on manipulation of algos. And when you do that, what do we get into with Google, right? Everybody focus on SEO and manipulating algorithms. Google goes, oh, we're just going to change it today. And then tomorrow,
when you're doing these digital platforms, Jason, you're doing these digital platforms, how long does a business owner have to do this before they can really measure whether I mean, I realize you can get a data set in a month, but does somebody have to do this for 6 months or a year or 18 months? And I'm asking because I feel like a lot of business owners, where they fail is they move from one strategy to another before they give it time to marinate.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And that really depends on the product and the buying dynamic. So if you have a product that's got a sales cycle that's elongated, your threshold for waste, for your threshold for not waste, but investment in that process needs to be higher. If you're selling a product that's widely adopted, you should see conversions in 7 days, more conversions in 14 days, still more in 21, and you should build towards a conversion model that you can duplicate with some real cadence. So the bottom line is, it depends on what you're doing and how it fits in. If you're selling like let's take homeowners insurance, and that play is obviously the bundle. You want the auto, you want this, you want all that. Right. That annualizes, man. That renews annually. So you can get a great audience that doesn't like their insurance company, but in their mind, in the consumer mind, they don't want to dick with it until November, because that's when I screw with insurance. And so you can do the best marketing in the world, but if you do nothing and then you wait till November for that audience that renews in November, you're way behind the eight ball. So you've got to have a level of understanding. Your agency should understand data well enough to be able to be predictable in that. We tell some solar clients it's going to take you 60 days to build a consistent conversion model. Others in other markets, like, look, get ready. Do you have bandwidth to go on meetings this week if you want to launch today? It depends on the market. It depends on the product. And if your agency can't be specific with you in that, then they don't really truly understand the data.
Talk to me a little about, and I guess our audience, about the use of video, because I feel like going into 2024, that seems to be the biggest word that I hear, and I'm hearing owners talk about, which is I need to do video. And I think a lot of owners are confused. Like, does that mean, I'm putting videos up on social? Does it creating a YouTube channel? Am I just trying to create long form videos for either internal recruiting or for external customer acquisition? Are you seeing people use video more now?
Well, I mean, video has been a thing for a while, and the biggest advocates for doing everything you do in video are agencies that specialize in video production and monetize video production. So that should tell you right there. Here's what I'll tell you. It depends. And I know I keep saying that, but we say that on a podcast, but not to a client. With a client, I can say, look, here's what I can tell you about your product space. You're selling syrup. And here's what I know about syrup. Your engagement level will be higher on a per capita or per CPM basis. But your CPM is so much higher that the audience shrinks to a level where static ads reach a much larger audience for the same dollar. And you don't really need to be that engaged to buy syrup. You just need that little edge, that little call to action, that little thing. And that seems to be good enough. So therefore I can reach, at $6 a CPM, your audience with great saturation. I can't do it at $20, $30, $32 video CPM, but transition the product. And let's talk about consulting services. Let's talk about other services, talk about my own company. What video producers also don't want to tell you, because they make their most money at 30-second, 2-minute videos and then chopping it up into social pieces.
Right.
What really is performing now is incredibly long format content delivered to an audience that gives a shit about what you're talking about. And they don't want, like in MySpace, I'll equate it to MySpace. 2 years ago, what was popular was, here's 3 tips and tricks for your social media campaigns. And then 3 tips and tricks, right? And back then, I would stitch those videos and go, are you fucking kidding me? Well, you don't need to hire this guy. He just gave you the tips and tricks. And if you go to his page, he's got 80 posts with him. He just gave it all that. So what we're looking at now is marketing in our space, for example, to CMOs. You got to have some there. So it's one thing to say, look, if you need more, like that hook is important. If you need more demand gen for your demand gen buck, then you need to pay attention to what I'm getting ready to tell you. And then you get into some real shit. You get into bot traffic and how to suppress it out. You get into how to stop your agency from delivering post-product conversion funnel ads where 40% of your budget is going at that audience after they bought your product, and take that 40% and bring it back in. Real stuff that's real actionable. You can't do that in 28 seconds. You need 3 minutes. You need 5 minutes. And so the TikToks that we've had that have gone, 80, 90, 100, 200,000 views have not been the 30-second little teasers. It's the more meaningful and impactful content. If you're manufacturing and you're selling assembly line products and you're trying to go after an audience of operational people, I mean, were you going to hook them with a 15-second, how cool it is?
Right.
I don't give a shit. What's the implementation like? How big a lift is this for me to move to you? What's it like in terms of its efficiency? Does it coincide with the lean manufacturing we've set our factory up for? All of those variables are what they care about, not how pretty the girl is or how smart the guy thinks he is and how cute we can be in the hook,
How early are we still on text marketing? It feels to me like the main text marketing I get now, because it's politics season, is I get, both the Democrats and the Republicans sending me stuff all the time because, they got my phone. But I still feel like a lot of businesses where I do business, and that could range anywhere from restaurants to places that buy clothes, still don't do a lot of text marketing.
Yeah. Well, text marketing is easy and it's cheap, and it also pisses people off. It's successful in the short term and can deliver serious brand application in the mid and long term. And your brand isn't ever going to sell anything. And that's why we don't like branding as a standalone strategy towards revenue. but your brand associated a negative connotation is certainly a thing where it turns people off to see it. When you take a communication channel like email, for 25 years, we've gotten everything in email: personalized email, business email, and bullshit email. You take a thing like text, man, but when that particular, for me, it's the whistle. When that whistle goes, that's somebody I know. At least it better goddamn be, because I don't want it's something I've given somebody or somebody that they know. I've given them that information because that's so when I get in and it's like, hey, buy this at 10% off. In my mind, and all the consumer survey data illuminates that this is the trend kind of across the board. In my mind, I'm like, okay, Geico, I don't know what you're selling, but I know that I'm not going to do it with you.
Right.
I know it's insurance. I know Geico's out. If that's the best you got, it's like people that are cold emailing for lead gen. Like if that's all you got is cold email, that's how you get in, or LinkedIn email, right? For the first time in 15 years, I turned off notifications for LinkedIn about 6 months ago. They went enterprise level, unlimited emails, and so it's a bastardized channel. I think with email and texting and personalized messaging on platforms like social with LinkedIn and even Facebook and the like, I think you're invading consumer space, comfortable space. They don't want you there. If they reach out through there, that's a different animal altogether. But if they're by and large, if you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to suffer some serious brand deprecation. And frankly, I think what AI is bringing to all of this is a dramatically lower cost per instance, which is going to be a huge increase in volume, because now this lead gen guy that emailed me right before I got on the phone, a year ago, he might have said, Jay, we'll go after 10,000 CMOs for you. Now they're like, we don't care if it's 1 million. We'll get you 3 leads a week. But they're going to piss off 997 CMOs over the next year to get me 3 leads a week. I mean, it's not a good play. It's not smart. Intent email, I like serving ads, non-invasive marketing that to a very targeted audience. And they go, yeah, I want to learn more. Resolving that traffic into email and then sending out AI-generated language model emails that read something like, hey, man, I saw you were on the website. What kind of questions you have? Open-ended, let those interested come to you, let those not go away. What you'll find is you're not pissing people off to do that. So you don't have to worry about brand deprecation. It's a high intent audience, so you're not completely irrelevant. But secondarily, your response rate in intent data is dramatically higher. And then you've always got that second tier level. Okay, here's sales teams, here's some leads. And through texting these other channels, cold email, here's a bunch of shitty leads, sift through them and find the good ones. Versus here's 100 leads for the month for my sales team, and we better close most of these. So, and from a sales guy's perspective, those are the leads you want. You want leads that you can close. You don't want leads that you have to sift through and go, oh, this is garbage and this is garbage. And
are you seeing any trending changes with websites at all? There's we get a lot of questions from owners all the time about websites, and should websites be there to educate, inform, conversion funnel, any major trends that you're seeing right now, especially now that AI seems to be like the next greatest thing on websites?
Yeah, the thing about all of that is websites are like art. It's very subjective. You can put 10 people in front of a painting or a website, and 3 of them are going to be completely turned off by it. 3 of them are going to think it's the best thing they've seen since sliced bread, and 4 of them are going to be completely agnostic, not moved either direction. So it's very subjective. So your website has to have some structural meaning to it, meaning it's got to deliver information and it's got to convert intent traffic into leads. So it's got to have calls to action. There's some basics you got to have. You have to be mobile optimized. You got to meet all this. But in terms of marketing, the days of like marketing, whether it's through social or anything, frankly, DSP and doing, display and all that, any marketing where we're driving the traffic out of a high price, we're not sending to the homepage of the website. So many companies do so many things. If they clicked on an ad because they're very interested in this very specific thing, deliver them the information on that through a funnel that gives them, you take a static ad because your outreach is biggest there. You bounce it to a landing page with some videos, so people that have the highest intent there, and you get the ability to use heat mapping and some other tools, so you can look at engagement, you can look at what's valuable, what's not. Then you resolve that traffic down to email. Now you're really talking. But to send it to the homepage, I mean, those days for our clients kind of dead. It's just not a good play. Your bounce rates go up. even in the best, most targeted audiences, the cleanest data, your bounce rate's going to go up because they don't see exactly what they came there to see right away. And let's face it, Google ruined us on our willingness to search websites. we search Google now, right? So, you go to the homepage. Nope, not there. Click back. Nope, not there. And you just keep bouncing back and forth. So doing click-through funnels, information funnels, conversion funneling, that's the way to do it. And most of that's non-visitor facing.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, these are great tips. I think owners that first of all, this may be the reason to talk to your firm about doing the marketing, but I think like any firm, if you're going to grow top line revenue, it's still simple in the sense you're either going to get more business from existing clients or you're going to get new clients or you're going to get some of both, right? There's only so many ways to do this. I'm curious on the business side of this. So, you built this dynamic digital marketing firm. And then one day, a few years ago, you took the company public. And there are a lot of business owners, if they get to a sale point, they might sell to an individual, they might sell to a strategic partner, a family office, a private equity. What made you go that route to take the company public? And what's it been like, having taken it public? What's changed?
It's awful and it's great. It's man, I tell you what, it's the first time I've ever taken a company public. And as you can tell, I'm an animated guy. I'm a kind of big person. I'm a type A guy. So administrative detail is fucking awful. And the process of going public is a bucket of administrative detail. It is compliance. It is, comments back on your S1. And we decided not to do the reverse merger route, which would have been less expensive. But then you've got all these pitfalls. We wanted a clean public entity that we controlled, that we didn't have any investors, that we didn't shake their hands before they invested in that initial couple of rounds you do to lift up. And so we wanted to know our investors. We wanted our investors to have full transparency with us. So we built an organic S1 and went that route. I love it. It adds layers of business, right? So everything we've talked about still on your plate. Recruiting, staffing, still on your plate. Iterating technology, your tech stack, still very much on my plate. But now I've got capital markets on my plate, which is like fending off short sellers and attracting investors, private placement investors, institutional investors. Then there's the liquidity play, and we're just not going to make that play. It's fun. I love it. But I think you have to be wired. Like, you have to be the kind of guy that gets in those arguments on social that nobody's going to win, but you just like to fight. I think you have to be one of those kind of people to really enjoy going this around. And I just happen to be wired that way. But it's interesting, man. I mean, it gives us access to capital markets. I did it because I saw a major hole in big tech, major with data. We thought Congress was gonna come in through the really embarrassing hearings they had with Zuckerberg, I think 18 or 19. We thought the Congress was going to come in and say, no, you can't do anything you want with data. It ended up being the iOS update. Everybody thinks, oh, what a great play they made to protect consumers. No, they want to delta in on the ad spend and control. They have the device. Android followed suit. Device companies now get to take in that revenue for that ad spend. But it did protect consumers by eliminating app tracking data. So our timing was lucky, but very good, because our play was always about building addressable audiences outside of the big tech space, because I don't freaking trust them. I don't trust them. They monetize on bot traffic. Why would they eliminate it? They monetize errant data. I mean, if I told you that example where 40% of the homeowner audience doesn't own their home, they still made their money on that 40%. The agency still made their money in a traditional agency model on that 30 or 40%. You know who doesn't make money on that? We don't. That's specificity.
Right.
We don't build that audience with errant data. We vet it. We use pixelation, ad pixelation to deliver proof of concept for enterprise level companies of exactly the audience accuracy. And so it's a different play, but I'm loving it. I love the capital markets play. It's fun. It's a whole different level. And for the first time in my life, I got a specialized plate because I had a reason with the stock ticker symbol.
Well, I noticed you must have to deal with it as a CEO where the stock could pop to $2 a share and then it drops back down. And these can happen in spikes like that. And then people call you and they go, hey, what's going on with the stock, good or bad? Do you still have to field those kind of questions?
Well, I mean, you build a capital markets team, but we don't field those questions. I mean, we've been very diligent in our approach to capital markets. I've not been willing to take on VC money that comes with strings. No thanks. So they'll give you like, okay, so we'll do 10 million with you, but the first 3 million, you've got to do these things. And if we'd been in line with one of those investors, we would have missed our biggest tech evolution opportunity in the last 2 years, because we would have been forced to finish a build out on something that we wholesale know doesn't have long-term legs in the market. And so the ability to stay nimble requires you not have strings to money. So we went into the private investor markets, did private placement deals. That's how we continue to raise cap. We are just now, I didn't want to start really trying to drive awareness about specificity in our stock and our stock value until we had a sustainable tech stack with the right people in place to not only grow, but retain and then continue to grow. We're there now. First quarter 2024 was always our goal. We hit it. We're on target. This is the year that specificity booms. We're gonna build in revenue, and here in the coming days, actually coming weeks, we've got a bunch of press releases coming out that we're going to time with some capital market IR money that we're going to target at retail investors to make them aware of what we're doing to specificity, start building some liquidity in our shares.
And all the people that were in the company, did you have to think strategically with your senior team and maybe key employees about how you would deal with, if you did it at all, with stock options and how you keep people excited about being along for the ride? Because I imagine that I mean, I know what I did internally in my companies when we were private companies, and how you try to get people to be rowing the boat the same way. Does that strategy change when you become a publicly traded company?
I think the primary benefit you get in regards to that is the ability to leverage equity in your company as a sequitur partnership and a sequitur to talent recruiting. So we did two things that I thought were smart. One, we went public. So we've got the ability to deal equity to people we think are going to be major players in our company. And two, we can deal equity to partners to get them vested in not just the tech build out they've done that we want the exclusive to, but for them to have proper incentive to maintain that technology and continue to evolve it. But for us, the ability to use equity to attract C-level talent has been, I think, important. And moving forward, it is very much what we're going to do in 2024. The second thing we did that was really smart was we got the fuck out of Northeast Ohio and we moved down to Tampa. So now instead of having to talk people in to even flying in for a meeting, I'm like, no, I can't do it this weekend, but we can do it next. And not only we're on Northeast Ohio, but when it comes to trying to get top tier, like public markets type talent, then nobody wants to live in Youngstown, Ohio. And there's
listen,
no wrong with Youngstown.
I lived in Cleveland for 5 years in my corporate career, so I know that area. And what people don't know is when Drew Carey had his show there, and Drew Carey had his primetime comedy show, not The Price is Right times right now. There was one episode in there where somebody was in a terrible mood one day, and he goes, "You look like you're in a terrible mood. You need to cheer up." And he's like, "Well, it looks like somebody needs a trip to Youngstown." And that's what it was. It's like, take a trip to Youngstown. You'll cheer up living in Cleveland, because, a lot of people, Youngstown's a bit, it's a rough patch. It's a rough.
Youngstown, I'll say real quickly, I know we're getting to time here, but real quickly, Youngstown is such a different place to be in. It just is. It's so corrupt. It's so politically corrupt historically. And yet the number one thing that blue collar workforce rails on the most is corruption. And then every election cycle, they go pull the lever for the R or the D that's been installed and continues to be corrupt.
I swear.
And then the business community.
Well, I swear, because I used to drive between Cleveland and Pittsburgh all the time. And there was always the rumorville about the mafia that was in Youngstown. And there was a point on the Ohio Turnpike that my cell phone would go out. It was a small area, and it would always go out. And I was always wondered whether or not, there was truth in lending in that. Sometimes I'd stop at Youngstown and the Salty Dog there, get a drink at the Salty Dog.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an interesting place, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the two most interesting times of my life were moving to Youngstown, and the second most interesting time was getting the hell out of Youngstown, man. For me, it was a cloud cover, just weather, lake effect. I mean, it's cloudy like 300 days a year, has everybody in a foul mood all the time. Their sports team, the Browns, are awful all the time. And then when they're good, they never, it's just, they can't put it together. It's like, it's everybody's in a bad mood in Youngstown, it seems like.
That was a good move, though. At Tampa, right? You got less income taxes, more talent, better weather. All that stuff helps you grow a company.
Yeah, not to mention personally, just thank God, it's much better environment to be in.
Well, I appreciate you taking time with our audience today. And so the customers that you'll work with today, do the companies have to be a certain size of revenue or not when they work with your company?
Yeah, it's not really about that. I mean, we've done business with startups, for example, that don't have any revenue yet, looking to build a model that are capitalized, and we're a very smart play because of our data capabilities. We've done business at the enterprise, Fortune, say 500 level, where the play is about efficiency and saving a lot of money through better data and saturation model, all that, and we can do that. For us, it's really about what it takes at a minimum to be successful, to build sustainable conversion models. You really got to be able to put $5,000 a month in it. I mean, if you can't put $5,000 a month in it, then really ad tech isn't the play for you. Stay at the chamber, keep doing that kind of thing. I don't mean that, hire salespeople.
It's not negative. It's not negative.
But everybody that'll tell you, yeah, give me $2,500 and I'll pull these social media levers for you. I mean, they're flashing the paying results, and the vanity metrics might be good, but the long-term health of those campaigns, the ability to duplicate that, it's not there. There's no there below $5,000. It is not. And that's 20 years of running digital marketing campaigns, from being a Google partner to realizing Google's not a play for us at all, to social, to all the iterations. You really got to have an audience size before you can really say, look at the analytics alone don't get impactful without a certain percentage, right? I mean, just think about what you learned in statistics class in high school, right? So 1/10 of 1% of a likely audience does not affect
no sample size.
Yeah, there's no corollary.
So for people who want to follow your podcast, where do they get that?
If you go to our site, everything about us, news, podcasts, all that is on specificityinc.com. If you want some really right between the eyes, like how we see the market, the emperor has no clothes as it pertains to big tech and big social, go to the Angry CEO on TikTok. We've got some
Angry CEO. I love it.
Some pretty stingy content there, but it's honest, and we back it up when we say it in a public space. And I've yet to have a cease and desist letter on anything I say. So you can pretty much take to the bank that's some pretty true stuff. We've got a pretty good following there. So we know they've seen it, and we're right. We're right about it.
The last time I got a cease and desist letter was from Tesla. I had a marketing stunt. I was pulling Jason, and my first name is Ted. And so I made t-shirts that said Tedsla, but it had the Tesla on it. And I was running these Tesla videos. And all of a sudden I get a little cease and desist in the thing, like, no. And then you start thinking to yourself, probably not going to be beating Tesla's legal team. So I just going to cut this off.
Yeah. For us, our seed investors comes out of financial advisory. So relatively serious. Like, aren't you worried about getting, cease and desist or sued by Meta? And I'm like, are you kidding me? That would become our next marketing campaign. I mean, I would scale to $1 billion if we had enough proof of concept, and we have it internally. But in a public dynamic like that they sued us for telling truths. I mean, listen, we're not rich, but we have lawyers every day of the week kind of money,
Well, everybody check out specificityinc.com. Follow the Angry CEO on TikTok. I think you'll all enjoy this. Obviously, you see the great information that Jason has, just a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Continued success with the publicly traded company. I'm following the ticker symbol now, so I'm gonna keep an eye on it as well. And anybody can invest in it, right? If they want to, they can buy it, any brokerage platform.
Yeah, you can go on it. The OTCQB, the ticker symbol is SPTY. If anybody wants to make significant investments, we do private placement deals, as I mentioned. We don't go into capital markets as of yet for institutional and VC. So we're all about private investment.
Well, next week, folks, we're going to have on a guy that built his own pharmacy business called drugstore-to-door.com, making medications cheaper for people across America, AJ Ascari. So follow Jason, the Angry CEO. Go to specificityinc.com. Check out all of his great stuff. If you need marketing help, you can clearly tell he's the guy that can probably make a difference in your business. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of The Shrimp Tank, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.